Hello, friends, and welcome to Born to Be All of Me, the podcast. My name is Amber Sousa, and I am so excited to welcome my dear friend, Bryana Kappadakunnel. I got it. Oh my goodness, it's quite a mouthful, but it's worthy of being pronounced correctly. So
Thank you.
welcome, welcome, welcome. I am really excited to have Bryana on today. We've known each other for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And I think that something that we have in common is we have both been devoted to our own healing journey so that we can help others on their healing journeys. And I've watched you over the years, and I'm right there, right by you. We keep saying yes to the call of our soul, the next thing that we feel called to. And we've both had brick and mortar businesses serving the communities that we feel called to serve. You have a book coming out. I just had a book come out earlier this year. So we also both have a background in performing, right? Weren't you
Yes, I have my BFA in theater. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really are kindred.
We seriously are. Absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and read your bio, and then we will jump into this conversation. Okay, here we go. I have to say it again. Bryana Kappadakunnel is a licensed marriage and family therapist and the voice behind Conscious Mommy. She serves new moms and families with young children who are in need of compassion, comfort, and support during life's inevitable changes and transitions. She runs the Conscious Mommy community, an online membership platform for parents who wish to heal their inner child wounds and parent from a place of intention and confidence. Her first book, Parent Yourself First, comes out in January of 2025, where she teaches parents how to heal their past so they can parent in a healing way. She lives in Southern California with her spouse and 2 kiddos. And I also want to read this. This was an endorsement given. And when I read this, it just resonated on such a deep soul level for me as a mother of 2 young children as well. Parent Yourself First is not only thought-provoking and insightful, it is warm, hopeful, and practical. This book is a cycle breaker's almanac. It helps parents heal from the pain of their past and create a present and future reality that their children won't have to heal from. Literally, when I read that, I have full body chills because, this podcast is called Born to Be All of Me. And I really feel that my journey for the last 10 years has been about discovering what has been in the way of me really being and embodying who I was born to be. And a lot of the pain and the wounds that I've carried, right, that didn't belong to me. So you are doing that for parents. Like, you are teaching them how to heal their own wounds so that we don't pass it along to our children.
Right. And let our kids have their own baggage, right? Rather than having to sift through all of our baggage and try to make sense of their baggage, right? One lifetime is enough for your own baggage. You don't need ancestral baggage as well. And that's what happens when we get into relationship with children. Here we are, these beautiful bundles of joy that we have so many hopes and dreams, and we have a vision for their future. And oftentimes the vision for their future that we hold has absolutely nothing to do with the child in front of us. It has to do with the things that were not met in our own lives, or the things that we have not lived up to in our own lives that now we project outward and expect our child to fulfill for us. So when you say born to be all of me, I've spent the last 10 years trying to figure out just who the heck is that? Well, that's the part of that's what becoming all of you really is. It's deconstructing all the masks that we learned to put on
Right.
in order to exist in a world that was kind of created for you, right? You're told this is who we expect you to be in order to receive love, in order to receive care, in order to receive attention, in order to be worthy. Like you need to be exactly who we are telling you to be. And that is so soul crushing to a young person, right? Who really doesn't know better, right? Who doesn't know, but that doesn't actually suit me. They're just like, okay, I guess I'll just be who you expect me to be. And is this enough? Well, okay, that doesn't work. So let me shift it a little. Now am I good enough? And this is where we get like the people pleaser.
Mhm.
And then we become adults and we are shuffling through all of these feelings and emotions, and it comes out, right? It comes out in our relationships, our intimate partnerships, our friendships, our workplace. And then we mature into parents, and we have the option to continue that pattern or to break it.
Right.
And that's what I advocate for. Patterns continue to repeat themselves until parents stop repeating themselves. It boils down to the parents. What is the work that we are doing internally for ourselves so our children they don't have to do that work for us. That's
Mm.
the heart, the message of the book.
I love that so much. And I I really feel my first child was born in 2012, and then my second was born in 2014, and that's when I had my spiritual awakening, dark
Mm-hmm.
night. And I talk about this in my book, how I really feel that my children came in to help wake me up.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
and because, like you just said, I had spent a lifetime adapting to meet the needs of others, to become who I thought they needed me to be, wanted me to be, in order to be accepted and loved and to feel a sense of belonging, to feel safe, right? This is what every human does. And I
Right.
had no idea. I had no idea that's what I was doing.
Of course
And
not.
then when I had my dark night breakdown, whatever you want to label it, that's what got me on this path of really starting to examine how I
Yeah.
had become who I had become and
Mm-hmm.
to peel back the layers. So I would love to hear, because I know we all get into this work because we have, personal connections to, right, like the reasons. So
Mm-hmm.
take me back to when you were, at whatever, wherever you want to start,
Yeah.
little Bryana, or what
Yeah.
feels relevant to you.
Well, my dark night of the soul and like that, what really kicked me into this, journey, if you will, was when I was 18
Mm.
and I was standing in line at a pizza shop in New York City with a new friend. I had just moved to New York from my little small town. I'm from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh, honey girl. I am like a small town country bumpkin. And here I am in New York City, surrounded by so much diversity, different kinds of thoughts, different kind of upbringing, all different kinds of just different, just completely different from like the poor Italian American upbringing that I had basically no diversity other than that. And I'm standing in line with my new friend. Her name is Juliet. And she says to me, "What are you going to get for lunch?" And I said, "Oh, I don't eat lunch." And she was like, "What do you mean you don't eat lunch?" But she says it with like a nanny accent, right? She has like that real strong New York accent. I can't do
Right.
it. And she says, "What do you mean you don't eat lunch?" And I said, "Well, my mother told me that, you shouldn't eat lunch. It's bad to eat lunch. It will make you fat and it's not good for you, that you should only be eating once a day." And it was her face. It was the puzzlement, the befuddlement on her face. And she was like, "Your mother sounds crazy." And she paid for her salad. And it was like this, what's happening right now? Because
Right.
it's such a simple little story, but it was that moment that was like, okay, if that seemed very odd and jarring to her, for her to have that kind of reaction to tell me that she thinks my mother's nuts. What else did I experience growing up that would otherwise be deemed as unacceptable and inappropriate and not okay? And that was when, I started to get into therapy, and I, spent years just crying, literally just years of crying. I couldn't even get words out in therapy, where I was deconstructing and making sense of the violence and the chaos and the disorganization and just the way that it can be so dysfunctional in the home and yet appear so perfect on the outside. Another story I have is, I was a singer at church, and my mom would drive me to church, get me to mass before mass would start, because I'd have to practice or whatever. She'd be beating the crap out of me on the way to mass. I'm talking pulling my hair. She is driving, whipping my hair, slapping me across the face because I don't know, I left my shoes in the wrong place. There'd be some reason that would make no sense for it. And I'd rush up onto the altar, and I'd like kind of fix myself and like get ready to like bring people in for the hallelujah. And she would walk in with like just the biggest smile on her face and smile and wave at people. And people would be like, oh, it's like Barbie and Ken. They're here. Wow, you guys have the most perfect family. And I had a lot of grief, and I had a lot of anger that I didn't actually know that I had grief and anger that I also had to work through, and a ton of things to deconstruct and make sense of. How did those things really shape me? Well, they made me feel so incredibly not only wounded, right, and unsafe and vulnerable and avoidant of all kinds of intimacy, no matter what it was. But it also made me like carry around this like perpetual feeling of inauthenticity. I don't know how to be real. I don't know how to be myself, because it's completely unsafe to, because you either are like, you're physically harmed or you are humiliated until you conform to the culture that you were being pushed into. And all I could do was escape it. That was all I could do. I haven't lived there in 19 years. And listen, I'm not here to speak poorly about my mother. I love my mother. But when you have these complicated relationships that shape who you are and shape what you think about yourself, and also shape what you think others think about you. And it's that oppressive and damaging and wounding. It's like you spend almost, at least for me, I have spent like 20 years making sense of this emptiness inside, because that's really what it is. It's an emptiness that I then try to find vices to fill that hole. And I think I'm getting to the point in my journey where actually the thing that really fills that hole is me. I'm getting to that place. It's not my husband. It's not my children. I learned to escape myself. And so much of this life journey, and honestly becoming a mother and raising these boys and seeing them just being so unapologetically who they are, and me just embracing it, and it actually being easy to just embrace it and to just love it, has really brought me back to me and learn to love me. And I don't love everything I see, Amber. And I think that's a really important part of healing, right? You're not going to love every single part of you. There's going to be parts of you that even you are sick of. Okay. Like, let's normalize that. But that is the thing that I've really picked up on. And I think I'm going to be entering into the next phase of my life, recognizing, okay, I was taught to abandon myself. And there is a lineage, there's a maternal lineage of that in my family. And I know a lot of people feel the same. A maternal lineage of women just routinely abandoning everything they are in service of others.
Absolutely.
So there you go. That's my journey, how I've got here.
Oh, God, that was so good. I didn't come into this conversation thinking I was going to cry today, but that really touched me, because yes, I resonate so deeply with that. In fact, the tagline of my book is moving out of self-abandonment into authentic embodiment, right?
Yep.
That is the journey of, why did I self-abandon? What was that all about? And then really finding the joy and also feeling safe to move back into my authentic embodiment. You know, it's your story. My mom, I didn't get smacked and yelled at, but I did get modeled that we were the perfect family. Like we were the perfect family. I was the perfect child. And, you know, meanwhile, like when I was 3, my mom's brother took his own life. You know, he was an alcoholic, a heroin addict, right? And so and then my mom had, you know, her own challenges growing up. And my father lost his mother when he was 7, and his dad raised 4 children, right? So they came into, you know, becoming parents with that, but feeling like, okay, that was our past. Now we're just going to have a family, and we're going to do it differently, and we're going to
overcompensate for all the pain by being perfect and pretending it's not there.
That's right. But as a child, I'm very sensitive. Right. So I believe that my little sensitive empathic self could tell that there was incongruence.
Of course.
Right. There was pain underneath. And yet we were this perfect family. And I got to a place, sounds like you did too, where that inauthenticity became so painful that I self-abandoned in all kinds of ways. You know, for me, drugs and alcohol and, you know, toxic relationships. So, oh my goodness. So when did you decide that you wanted to become a therapist?
So I would say it was, it was actually through my theater program. I found the process of doing theater so therapeutic.
Yes.
You know, because theater really is about like stripping down to who you are. Most people get into theater because you're like, oh, I just get to escape into someone else. But the heart into any character is really through yourself and getting deep into your own sense of awareness so that you can become this character that you are playing. And I just found that whole experience to just be, it made me feel alive for the first time.
Yeah.
Whew, I'm getting emotional. And I was like, is there such thing as drama therapy? Like, do people do this? And so I started searching it, and I found that there were 2 drama therapy programs in the entire country, one at NYU, which I was actually already at. I have my BFA from NYU. And I was
wow.
I'm not spending another $200,000 at NYU. I love you, go Violets, but I'm just not going to do it. And the other one was here in Los Angeles with Dr. Pam Dunn.
Okay.
And so I booked a one-way ticket, and I said, see you later. I'm moving to Los Angeles. Didn't know a soul here. Moved to Los Angeles, started the drama therapy program, and found out that if I wanted to practice independently, that would also have to have a marriage and family therapy license. And so I was like, well, I may as well. And, you know, life is short. Just go with the flow, right? Like that just felt like the natural evolution. And here I am at Pepperdine, and that was actually what led me into working with children. My school, you know, clinical director, her name was Rebecca. She said, you know, you have such great experience with theater and drama and all of your work in preschools. Would you be interested in working in a therapeutic preschool? Maybe you could do drama therapy there. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. And that was actually how I got into all of this, working in a therapeutic preschool, birth to 5, being like, yes, this is the field. And then realizing, oh gosh, if I want to work with children, I really got to work with the parents, because the parents are wounded. It isn't that, yes, these children have trauma, but like, unless I can help the parents with their trauma, there's absolutely no way that these parents are going to really fully be able to support their children with their trauma. We're just going to keep repeating this cycle of trauma. And that was, honestly, that was the full progression into literally where I am right now with Conscious Mommy and Parent Yourself First. That was the whole, that's like been the last 20 years of my life.
That's incredible. Do you feel that what are your beliefs? Like, do you feel that your soul like knew that you were here to do this work, and so it led you down this path? And has it surprised you?
It's been
where you,
completely surprising,
yeah,
totally surprising,
yeah.
because, you know, I knew I felt called to like use my voice in some way because I'm a singer, right?
Yes, I know.
And I love theater, and so that felt like that really clicked. But when it stopped clicking, you know what I mean when I say that? Like you're doing something and you're like, oh, I feel so in alignment. I feel so charged and I feel
Yeah.
so energized doing this thing. And
Yep.
then suddenly, like, oh, it just like there's no inspiration anymore. It just
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily click. Now I'm doing it because I'm in the habit of doing it
Right.
rather than this lights me up from head to toe. So when I stopped feeling that feeling about theater and then I found my work in Birth to Five, it was boom, light up again. And then social media, same thing. It's just been a light up. And
Mhm.
I feel like an electric energy when I'm with parents and I'm seeing it click in their mind. I'm seeing
Mhm.
parents get into like understanding their inner child and understanding their protective response, like understanding their own self preservation, like how you were saying, like when that period where you recognized that you were abandoning yourself. And then you had that question of, why? Like, why was I doing that? The why is almost always out of self preservation. Because if those primary needs, I don't feel seen, I don't feel heard, I don't feel understood, I don't feel safe, right? If that's how we're feeling, we are not going to be in the authentic self. We will have to mask in order to survive the environment that we are in. And so when I see parents really make sense of that, right? And they can have a ton of compassion for where their families were and what was going on in their parents and why their parents were like unable to really support them on that deep emotional level, right? For whatever reason, whether the parent was struggling with mental health issues or their parent, just was emotionally immature and they didn't have that modeled for them. So they just genuinely didn't have a roadmap. They just genuinely didn't know how to support their own children. When I see parents make that click and they let go of all the guilt and all the shame that they carry for not showing up in this way that they keep telling themselves that they're supposed to and that they should. And because that is wiped away, now they have all this free space in their mind to really be able to see their child for who they are,
Mm.
not who they expect them to be, not who they need them to be, not who they want them to be, but for who this child is. They can see the child having an absolute meltdown over something that seems kind of trivial and small to the parent, but now they can recognize, wow, my child is like really frightened and
Mhm.
they genuinely don't know what to do with these emotions, and they're acting out because they're reaching out, they're needing my support, they're needing my love, they're needing me to hold them in this moment that feels so incredibly large to them, and that's all I have to do. And it clicks and it makes sense when I see that. I'm
Mm.
like, oh,
Right.
the world is a better place. I feel so alive. I'm like, yes, like that is exactly what we need more of.
Yes.
That is what we need more of across the board,
Yeah.
everywhere. That's what we need more of.
Amen. I do think that you are going to have to write a song and sing it at some point about all of this because you're going to have to use that gift. No, but honest to God, like the thought, it makes me want to weep when I think about the work that you are doing. And I know that you went through training with Dr. Shafali, conscious parenting, like the work that people like you are doing to help parents consciously raise their children. We are being given an opportunity to raise children who aren't going to feel like they need to adapt and right like develop these coping strategies and these protection mechanisms and like lose who they are. Like that is what keeps me feeling I really do think that my children, sometimes I on this journey I'm like, really? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, wow, it gets, I mean, whew. But
Mm-hmm.
my children inspire me. They keep me going. They give me the strength because I'll be damned if I'm going to come as far as I've come and give up because for them, I want them to feel free. I want them to have the freedom to
Yeah.
be their authentic self, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm constantly watching and observing myself and noticing how I'm holding space for them. I want to ask you, so you've been doing this work for a long time,
Yeah.
even before you were a mom. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit, how has becoming a mom shifted the way that you show up in this role as you support other parents?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, becoming a parent just made me have so much more empathy for the parenting experience.
Yeah.
Well, because it's all theoretical, right?
Right.
Parenting is theoretical until you have children that you are fully responsible for and you understand just the ins and outs, like the daily aspect of living, right? Because we can't be in like this state of conscious awareness all the time. And nobody is. No parents are. We're all dipping into unconscious reactivity. And that's actually what conscious parenting is really about. It's about appreciating that, like, yeah, you are gonna snap. Yeah, you probably will put a box around your child. And it's not about feeling like we can't do that. It's about recognizing when we are doing it and actively taking those nails out of the box that we're shutting the child in and saying, oh, not today, right? Using that reflective capacity to free them from the unconscious ways and the reactive ways, the human ways that we interact, that we create, honestly. So I would say it was becoming a parent that allowed this work to like be less theoretical and more real. But I would say that the work that I was doing before was really like in service of myself
Mm.
and really like making sense of where I was, and I almost feel like I'm still doing that. Like I'm still in therapy. Like it's 20 years strong, 20 years strong in therapy. I'm definitely still in therapy and a huge advocate for it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like I get to really show up for parents in just with so much love. I just have so much love for parents and so much compassion for them. And, I try to just keep a really strength-based perspective. Like, you're not doing anything wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with your baby. And this is all going to be worked out. We can we can grow through this. No matter what it is that we're facing, we can grow through it and around it. And I just think like holding space for that kind of hope and like learning to trust ourselves. You know what?
Mm.
Sorry to go off on a tangent, but that's
No,
honestly
please.
like that's probably like one of the biggest things that I see parents, modern day parents, really struggling with. They struggle with trusting and believing in themselves. I know that sounds very cheesy, but
No.
trust is the first relational milestone that we develop in as humans. In the very first year of life, birth to 12 months, we are working on developing a sense of trust and reliance and dependence on others. And then we internalize that for ourselves. Do we trust that our needs will be met, that we will be heard, that we will be protected, that we will be safe?
Mm.
And I see so many parents in their parenting process really struggling to trust themselves, to trust that they understand what's going on with their kid, to trust that they know how to interact with their kid, to trust that they know how to help their child. They get so lost and so stuck in all the scripts and all the masks and all the direction that we are told to take, right? Look outside of yourself is what a lot of the parenting influencers teach. Come to me. I will give you all the answers. You just look over here, and then I'm going to feed you everything that you need to know about yourself and about and your child. And conscious parenting, the approach that Dr. Shafali teaches, the approach that is just extremely intuitive to me, it's the opposite. It's stop looking outside of yourself. Look inward. Inside is where you are going to find the answers. if you just learn to pause and listen and notice. And I think that's like the biggest thing that my work has led me to teach other parents to do. Pause, listen, and notice, observe. What is your body actually telling you in this moment? Is it telling you to escape and get away? Is it telling you to like shut down? Those are your protective, that's the protective parts of you
Mhm.
that are saying, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed out, I'm scared, I feel helpless, I feel defeated, right? The moment you start relating to yourself in that way, you know what you're relating to, right? That's your inner child.
Yeah.
That's the little part of you who recognizes something that feels stressful and kicks that little part into survival and says, is somebody going to keep me safe?
Yeah.
Is somebody here? Is somebody listening to me? Can somebody hold me? Can somebody support me? Can somebody love me? And part of parenting yourself first is saying, I'm going to be that for you.
Yeah.
Me, higher self version of me is going to be that for the inner child version of me. And the more we practice that and the more we tune into that and the better we get at that, the easier and more organic, honestly, it becomes completely effortless to then do that for your child. And then
Yes.
when you don't, well, it's probably because you're stuck in ego, because you're stressed out, because you're overwhelmed, because you're burnt out, and an inner child needs a little bit of love.
Yeah.
And it's all because we're listening and trusting and being present and being in the moment. That's the heart of it to me. That's the heart of parenting. It's not checking a bunch of freaking boxes, getting everything done, all the menial, tasks of life that we get into this like hamster wheel of just trying to like be done with it and then just see that life has passed us by. It's really about these little tiny things. And honestly, when we embrace it, oh my God, it makes it so much better. It
Mm,
makes it so much more joyful. And it lights you up. It makes you feel more purposeful.
absolutely. Oh my God, this conversation, I'm so emotional about it because I think about the mom that I was when
Mm-hmm.
my kids right now they are 10 and almost 12.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when they were little, I had not done the work yet
Yeah.
to really recognize my own inner child. And I was
Mm.
so uptight and I was so triggered. And then I also would feel such shame for not enjoying motherhood as much as I thought I was supposed to.
Right.
And I can honestly say now, I mean, yes, different ages and phases have different, you know,
Yeah.
challenges and rewards. But right now, I enjoy being a mother so much. And oftentimes I am able to, put my head on the pillow at the end of the day and just feel so grateful for the mom that I'm able to be to them because I've been able to find the compassion for my own inner child, right? And it's like when someone has not done that work, they have not found the compassion for their own little self that has adapted. They
Yeah.
don't have the tolerance or the patience, right? If we don't have that tolerance and patience to be able to hold ourselves, how are we
Right.
going to be able to give that to a little person who's triggering all of these things inside of
Right.
us? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. Hmm. And that is precisely the point. I remember running into you at Alamy in the pandemic. And I
Okay.
think at the time your kids were like 7 and 9 or like 8 and 10.
Well,
Like,
if it was in the pandemic, it
yeah,
was
how old were they?
well, 2020 is when I got a divorce. June of 2020 is when I got a divorce. And they were
I'm it
5 and 7.
it must have been 2022 then, like when things
Okay.
were starting to open up and I was renting your
Okay.
studio.
Yeah. So they were like
Yeah,
seven and
like
nine. Yes.
7 and 9.
Okay.
And, you hear so many things about 7 and 9 year olds. You hear
Mm,
about them starting to get a little snarky, pushing back, kind of getting attitudes and starting to become a little challenging.
mm,
And so I said, how's it going with kids that age? And you were like, honestly, it's my favorite season so far. And I
Oh,
just absolutely love these children. And it really took me aback because I actually don't hear too many parents say things like that
yeah,
about their 7, 8, and 9 year olds. I hear them talking in, a little bit snarkier of a way about that age because it can be a little challenging. And
right.
I never forget that
Mm,
moment because it just really struck me. I was like, wow, this is what it looks like when you do the work. You don't just focus on the hardships and the challenges
yeah,
of every age and stage, because as you said, every age and stage, even our own ages and stages, come with hardships and challenges. That's life, right?
right.
That's just what it means to be in a human experience.
Yeah.
But when you're doing this work of really having so much compassion for that little tiny self that feels scared and wants support and needs love and needs to be understood
Mm.
and just like wants somebody to feel you. You know what I'm saying? Just like,
Oh,
just
yes.
feel me and get me. Like, don't question me. Don't make me feel crazy. Don't make me feel like I'm wrong or bad. Just make me feel like this moment as I am is plenty, is enough, is good. That's what we're calling out for. And when we can provide that for ourselves, it allows us to embrace the ages and stages of our children in their fullness and even see them in this, a bit more positive light. And it was such a simple moment. You probably don't even remember it, but for me, it
Oh,
always stuck with me. And now Mateo is going to be 7 soon. And
yes.
I'm just like loving it. I'm like,
Ah.
yes, no, it's not perfect. Like, was he melting down today because he didn't have the plate that he wanted? Yes, he
Right.
was. Did he lose control of his body and act absolutely insane? Yeah. And was I triggered? Yeah. But you know what I felt immediately when that happened? I felt total panic and like sadness. And I was so scared actually that he was so erratic. And I just took a moment to like, it's okay to want to cry right now. That's
Mm,
okay. You're allowed to cry when you see violence. Like, I have a trauma history with violence, right?
right.
So I just told that little Brianna, like, it's okay that you want to cry and hide when you see violence.
Yeah.
You're conditioned to want to escape it because you got hurt.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. And you know what? He's also really scared right now. You don't have to judge the reason why he's scared. Like, yes, there's that ego part of you that wants to be like, are we really afraid because our plate's not blue? Like, are we serious right now? But I don't need to be an ego. I can
Yeah.
actually be above that ego part, that judgmental part. And I can just be in pure compassion. We're both in threat. We are both feeling threatened and scared right now. So what's the best way to deal with threat is to find safety. And that's what we did. I picked him up, I scooped him, I held him. I said, "You can't kick, buddy, but I'm here for you and I love you. We're going to figure this plate situation out," which we did. And
Yeah.
we moved right along. And I don't think I would have been able to do that had I not had that awareness, right? I would have been like, this is ridiculous. Get to your room. Absolutely not. We are not starting the day like this. I could
Mm,
100% see myself going into total control freak mode
yeah.
because that would be the way that I would have to handle that kind of stress first thing in the morning. But I didn't. I chose not to. And let's just name that. This work is a choice.
Hmm.
You choose to do this work. You choose to parent yourself first. And
Yeah.
it is harder. It's a harder road to take because it's a little bit less, it's a little bit less known. You don't have as clear cut of a map. You could just yell and scream and spank and throw your kids in timeout and just put them on the track of do your homework. Don't mess around at the table. Don't do drugs. Pay for their college. You could just take the typical check all the boxes. Go right ahead, do it. Or take this path. And I believe that this path is far more fulfilling.
I think I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah.
I believe it's more fulfilling for both the child and the parent,
Yep. Hmm.
you know, because when I'm able to see that the work that I've done and that I continue to do gives my children a place where they feel absolutely safe to be all of who they are,
Hmm.
um, there is nothing greater than that. There's no
Right.
reward greater than that. And also, like you said, in the moments when children are out of control, their
Hmm.
emotions are out of control, or that's what it feels like. It's incredibly triggering because nobody likes to feel out of control. And so, but
Right.
what I notice for myself is when I'm in a really centered, grounded place,
Right.
and my children have, you know, an out of control moment, I'm able to be the calm witness.
Right.
When I'm not, if I'm tired, if I'm depleting myself, I'm giving, you know, then I'm
Right.
like, oh God, really? You know, and so,
Right.
but I know, but the thing that's the gift of this work of parenting yourself first is that I recognize when I'm not my best self, and I'm able to come back and say, okay, let's try this again. Mom
Yep.
was not her best self in that moment, you know, but
Yep.
I want to share this little moment that I had
Beautiful.
with my daughter recently. She was having one of those moments, and she's almost 12, but she was having one of those moments where just a an overpouring of emotions was coming out of her, and I'm talking sadness and rage and, you know, all the things. And I was in a really calm, good place, and I sat down. She was on the floor in the kitchen just beside herself, and I sat down next to her, and I was just quiet, and I looked at her, and
Mm.
she it's like she looked at me almost like, aren't you going to try to stop me or change this or fix this?
Right.
And I just said, I love you.
Mm.
I'm sorry you're having a rough moment.
Hmm.
We'll get through this together.
Yep.
And minutes later, right, once she was able to ride the wave, she was like hugging me, saying, thank you so much. You know, thank you so much. And it's like, oh, because I spent so much of my life not feeling like it was safe to express all of me because there's a lot,
Right. Right.
you know,
Right.
I know you
Yeah.
get that. So it's such a huge gift. And I can say now my kids are 10 and almost 12. I'm like, I think this is my favorite season.
I love it.
Yeah, I do.
So
I love it.
beautiful. Well, I mean, you gave her those four primary needs in the moment. You helped her feel seen.
Mm,
You helped her feel heard. You helped her feel understood, and you helped her feel safe.
yeah.
And that is the most incredible way to foster authentic expression and to help us stay grounded and rooted in who we came here to be. And it helps us feel less alone.
Yeah.
It helps us feel connected. It teaches us that people are reliable and dependable for support, and that we are actually here not to judge each other and criticize each other and put each other down and to change each other and fix each other to make ourselves more, palpable and, you know, eh, good enough for everybody around us. But we are really just meant to be a source of love and compassion and containment for each other as we each go on our individual journeys. In the book, I love the way I close the book. Sorry to toot my own horn here.
Please toot it. I think we should
Toot
do
it.
more. I think we should toot more.
We should toot
We should
it
toot more
more.
often. More
But
tooting.
I loved the conclusion of the book because I have a metaphor. Well, it's not really my metaphor. It was a metaphor that was given to me actually in theater school.
Mm,
The metaphor of like the way we go through life is we have a headlamp that allows us to see about 50 feet or so ahead of us. And you can't possibly know the end of the road, right? You can only see 50 feet or so ahead of you. And so I use that metaphor to explain that, like, this is really what the healing journey is like. You've got this like oil lamp, and you're only seeing 50 feet or so ahead of you. You don't know all the obstacles that are in front of you. You don't know all the forks in the road. You don't know if what the road you're about to take is a dead end or not. You have no freaking clue. And that is not the point, because the destination is not the point. The journey is the point. Like, that is what soul work is really about. It is about being on the journey. And when we bring our children in, suddenly this journey feels that much more important, that much more significant. It feels like every step we take is such high stakes. And what I really am just trying to free us from is this feeling of, getting stuck in one spot because we are too afraid to keep going. Or if you're traumatized like me, when you are in a good spot, you start thinking, well, when's the other shoe going to drop? Right? Learning to just appreciate being in a good spot, knowing that a storm is going to roll in at some point, and you're going to have to pick up camp, and you're going to have to keep moving along in your journey. And when you realize this, it suddenly, like, to me, it makes sense as like life is just this like huge labyrinth, and we're all in our own unique spots within this labyrinth. And where you are today, somebody stood yesterday. And where you were yesterday, somebody will be tomorrow. And that is the beauty of this. And when you really appreciate that type of journey work for yourself, you then see your children as their own souls, just in smaller bodies, just with a little less human life experience. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have less soul experience. And you see them and you really appreciate the uniqueness of each one of our journeys. And yeah, I just feel so moved by that idea that that's the beauty of this human experience, is that it's so unique and yet so universal, all at the same time.
Yes, and you and I share this belief, this philosophy that um, it's better done in community.
Oh, always.
And that's why you've created your conscious mommy community, because
Amen.
you can know the tools, practice the tools, but when you're in community sharing, talk to me a little bit about that, like what that is, what that community does. I can't tell you. Also, I've been so pleasantly surprised lately. Every time I'm talking to a friend of mine, they're like, oh, Brianna, oh, she's like, are you kidding me? She's the best. I'm like, yeah, I know. So many people, like, I saw Victoria Gracie posted something. I was like, oh, Victoria knows her. Sonnet Simmons. She's like, I love Brianna. I'm like, Layla, right? Layla. Yeah, all these beautiful, amazing women. They're like, oh yeah, no, her work has like changed my life drastically.
Oh,
Yeah, you are changing lives
thank
drastically.
you.
So tell me
Thank
about the
you.
community, and how can parents find you? What does it look like? Tell me more
Yes.
about that.
The Conscious Mommy Community is an online membership program. There's a robust support forum, so people can, post, like, it's kind of looks like Facebook almost. They can
Okay.
like post, or they can post videos, whatever they want to post, and ask questions, engage, share highs, share lows, and just really support each other. It's non-judgmental, it's super inclusive, and just the energy of it is very exciting, because everybody who is inside this community wants to grow. They
Mhm.
want to be the best versions of themselves. They want to understand their children better. And I just think, like, when you're doing this kind of work, it's really helpful to do it alongside other people who kind of speak the same language, and can like be a cheerleader for you. And you can also practice being a cheerleader for them. Like, I think that's how you develop a lot of compassion, is when you start seeing yourself in other people, and you can access that compassion for them and that no judgment at all for them. It kind of teaches you to let go of self rejection and really embrace self acceptance. I teach live weekly classes.
Mm.
Everything gets recorded. I have a monthly parent coaching group. So they come in with their specific questions, and we are, doing role plays. And those are my favorite because I love role playing. It's so much
Yeah.
fun. And
You
then I
belong
have
on it. You were born to
courses.
be on a stage, girl.
Honey, give me a microphone. Give me my lights. I love it. No, I'm just joking. Anyway, it's really just an incredible, incredible space. And I wanted it to be very accessible, so I intentionally made it very, very affordable. I really, really underpriced it
Mm.
significantly because I want as many people in. I don't want cost at all to be a barrier for people to do this work. I want people who are ready and willing come in and join us. So best way to find me is going to be on consciousmommy.com, of course, or on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. But I'm mainly on Instagram. That's, millennial. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. And then talk to me. So you've got your book coming out in January. Talk
Yes.
to me a little bit about that process for you.
Oh my
How-
gosh. That's been an incredible process.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but
Yeah.
really meaningful work. And right now it's on pre-order. So you can basically order it wherever. If you go to consciousmommy.com/book, all of the links will be there for if you want to order it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or wherever. I don't care where you pre-order it. I just want and need people to pre-order the book.
Yes.
And when they do, they can also get some incentives as well. I have an hour-long masterclass on Parent Yourself First, as well as a chapter from the book that didn't make it into the book because I wrote I wrote 680 pages and they only needed like less than 300. So
Yeah.
I had to cut half of the book in order to like fully give it to my publisher and like ready for editing.
Okay.
So we have so much amazing material that did not make it into
Wow.
the book, but we'll probably make it into a second book if this book does well.
Oh,
So
it's
I
going to do
just
well.
Yes, it
I
comes
have
out
no doubt.
January 28th, and I'm just so excited for people to have, to have it in their hands. And because honestly, I feel like when you have it in your hands, like you have a piece of my heart in your hands. And I poured my entire being into that book, and I can't wait. I cannot wait. I love the early reviews. Everything has been so positive so far. The endorsements have just been, I've been crying myself over them. So it's just been an incredible process.
Yeah, I love that so much. I understand that feeling when you've poured every bit of you into what you feel that you're here to offer the
Yes.
world. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, if you are someone who is listening and you feel like you are the cycle breaker,
Yes.
this book, pre-order. I will put the links in the show notes.
Yes.
This work needs to be done, and it is changing. It will change the world. It is changing the world. It has changed my life. It is changing my children's lives.
Yep.
And one last thought? I have a question. This is just a very personal question.
Mm-hmm.
In a divorce, you're
Mm-hmm.
co-parenting with somebody and who might not be on the same path, the same healing journey. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if one parent is parenting themselves,
Mm-hmm.
is that enough to allow the children to be able to
Mm-hmm.
thrive and
Well, it'll certainly give them more tools than no parents parenting themselves first. They may have some wounds and some things that they will work through and will need to work through. And it does put a little bit more pressure on the parent who is parenting themselves first to have to like hold space for the child throughout that process. So yeah, it does definitely can make it a little bit more challenging, but it doesn't mean that the work is futile and unnecessary. If anything, it means the work is even more necessary in those circumstances. And, allowing ourselves to let go of what the perfect vision even looks like of parenting yourself first. Again, remember, it's not about the destination. It is about the journey. And that's what we are ultimately just trying to help our children be on, is the journey of their own life. And whatever stories they have to tell, teach them how to tell those stories bravely and courageously and with a little bit of humor and a shit ton of love, and they're going to be all right.
Mm. Mic drop. Mic drop. I don't even know what to say. That's it. All right. Well,
I love you so much.
I love you too. I'm so excited for you. You are doing the work that you were born to do.
Amen.
You really are embodying all of who you were born to be and modeling for that for all of the moms and all of our children. And I'm so grateful and inspired by you. And thank you for sharing this time with me.
Thank you for having me here. This was one of my favorite conversations
Yay!
I've ever had. You are such a joy. Thank you.
So are you. Mwah. All right.
Mwah.
Thank you, friends.
Bye.
Bye.